Welcome back to the Descartes Peoplevox YouTube channel. We've got Jesse from eCommeleon joining us today, who is our most recent addition to the ecosystem, to our partner network. So Jesse, why don't you introduce yourself and give us the headline on your business.
Hi Leo, thanks for having me. And hi everyone else. Nice to be here. Yeah, so I'm co-founder and managing director at eCommeleon. We're a software company from Leipzig in Germany, although I'm originally from the UK. In effect, our business is marketplaces. The whole thing with the Chameleon from eCommeleon is part of a necessary step when it comes to marketplaces in terms of flexibility, because just like every seller is different and every online retail business has different needs and different requirements, every marketplace has different needs and different requirements. We're a marketplace agency where we used to help British retailers to expand internationally via marketplaces. So specifically, we would have to deal with a lot of different listing tools, a lot of different marketplace management tools, a lot of different channel managers. And we had to help our customers to deal with all of the complexities of expanding internationally via marketplaces, whether it was into Europe or Japan or Australia, New Zealand, or obviously the USA. There were a bunch of differences in terms of how Amazon works versus how eBay works, but also in terms of German consumers versus French consumers. And we built a range of different tools internally to help us initially support and complement certain functionalities that were missing in the traditional channel management tools and listing tools. And over the years, we grew those tools to the point that we now sell as eCommeleon, where we also offer a bunch of different functionalities around the listing to marketplaces as well. So on top of that kind of product data management and optimization side, there's also the listing of the data to the marketplaces, the collection of order data from marketplaces, and now through this new integration with Peoplevox, being able to take the order data from various channels and pass it directly into a Peoplevox account to allow Peoplevox users to basically get order data in from any marketplace that we connect to.
When it comes to selling on multiple channels, or every channel, what do you see your customers doing really well? Like, what are the keys to being successful in that? And then the opposite of that, what are the things that brands are currently doing badly or doing wrong when it comes to trying to sell on multiple channels?
What they're doing well, I think obviously there's a lot to be said for the differences between categories. What works well for a DIY seller won't work well for a fashion seller, or might not work as well. In terms of general best practices, something that works really well is dealing with granular product data. And this doesn't matter if you're using a PIM system, you could be managing it in Google Sheets, you could be managing it in Airtable or some kind of no-code solution, or of course something like eCommeleon. The key though is granular product data. And what I mean by that is breaking down the core information about your products into the most base forms, so that you can then restructure it in different ways based on the different marketplace needs. So for example, if you're selling a t-shirt which is dark blue, but on a marketplace in country X and you're in category Y, you need to call it royal blue here and marine blue there and dunkelblau over there. You don't want to have to add all of those different marketplace specific fields to your core product data set, because what you call it on Otto in Germany doesn't matter. Like, your dark blue t-shirt is what you want to call it, a dark blue t-shirt. But you've got two values there, dark blue being the color field and t-shirt being the product type, whether you write it T-shirt or TEE shirt or shirt on some marketplaces. This is all your data versus what the marketplaces want. And by keeping it very granular, you can get tricky with it. You can use, if you're working with spreadsheets, you can use concatenate cell type formulas to build a title based by building these individual kind of building blocks of attributes together in a specific format. So instead of sitting there and typing out 100 Amazon titles, you can just build a rule once that says my Amazon title is brand name space hyphen product type space hyphen color space hyphen size. Again, this is something that we offer at eCommeleon with like a more advanced functionality of that, where you can then combine it with lookup lists that let you translate it, or you can incorporate sizing charts and things like that into it. But it all comes back to having granularity in product data, and that's something that I would recommend, whether you're selling on one marketplace or 100, and whether you're selling in just the UK or around the world. In terms of what sellers do less well, I would say the biggest mistake when it comes to marketplaces is taking the word marketplace and treating it synonymously with Amazon. If you take what works well on Amazon and you apply it to eBay, for example, or if you take an Amazon expert from your team and you try and get them to manage your eBay account, it's probably going to be more of a hurdle than a help. And so it's very, very important to remember that not all marketplaces are Amazon, and every single marketplace does have its own nuances, its own tricks. And I think this is where a lot of sellers get stuck, is they get Amazon right, they put all their time and effort into Amazon, and then they get onto the next one and nothing sells. And then, well, why is nothing selling on eBay? Why am I doing 98% of my turnover on Amazon, 1% from my own website and 1% from eBay? I'll just focus 98% of my time on Amazon then. And then suddenly you get your account suspended, and 98% of your turnover is gone from one day to the next. And that's an issue for a lot of businesses, and something obviously we try and help people to avoid.
Yeah, so it's understanding the nuances of each of these marketplaces and platforms. You can't just sort of have a one-size-fits-all approach, but at the same time, it sounds like you would suggest not just focusing on one marketplace. You need to sort of diversify and have a broad range of options if you want to, like you said, you don't want to risk having all your sales coming through one channel or one marketplace, because they're not in your control. Something could happen and then you could lose a huge chunk of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously it depends a lot again on the category that the seller is in. It also depends on where their strengths lie. So a traditional B2B brand might not be able to sell on D2C marketplaces. Maybe their logistics just aren't set up for it. Maybe their customer service can't handle it. Maybe they've got contracts that restrict it. Perhaps they have exclusive agreements with retailers to sell the products. Whatever the reason, there can be limitations to not being able to sell on certain marketplaces. That said, there are B2B marketplaces that would suit a B2B first business. There are also B2C marketplaces beyond Amazon that a more traditional retailer or D2C first brand would be able to take advantage of. The biggest trick I would really say there, though, is that when it comes to kind of diversifying it, my rule is my rule there is to ensure that no more than 50% comes from any one channel.
Okay.
Now, what that looks like can be different per business. It could be that 50% is coming from Amazon, and then 50% is coming from a smattering of other channels. And it might be that it's 50-50 Amazon eBay or 50-50 Amazon Shopify, or it could be that you need to add 100 marketplaces to get to the point where Amazon is less than 50%. But regardless of the number of non-Amazon marketplaces, this is where it becomes important to have a process that then works for all of the marketplaces, because obviously you can't put the same amount of time into 100 marketplaces as you do on Amazon. It's never going to work, especially not if you're only getting 0.5% of your overall turnover from obscure marketplace X in country Y. But yeah.
No, that makes sense. That's where the value comes from, having a sort of centralized management, doing the work once, and then being able to sort of disseminate that to however many marketplaces you might end up being on.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, again, it's where it comes back to my point of having granular product data, because after you've gotten ready to sell on one marketplace and your product data is clean and granular and broken down, and you've figured out how you can build it together in kind of building block structure, it's very easy to then take that same data and build it together in a different structure for the next marketplace.
Yeah, got you. Okay, let's talk a bit about Peoplevox. Obviously, we're welcoming you to our ecosystem. We've got an integration now between eCommeleon and Peoplevox WMS. Why have you sort of decided to take us up on the work together? What do you see as the opportunity, and what do you think that integration and the two platforms working together will bring to hopefully a load of shared customers in the future?
Well, we specifically built the integration for one Peoplevox user who wanted to migrate away from a more legacy channel management solution. They'd been using it since I want to say about 15 years. So it was pretty well embedded into their system. But they were using it for all of their marketplaces around the world. So it's not been like a overnight transition. And this is, again, been one of our strengths, has been able to kind of migrate them one by one, marketplace by marketplace, while they've kept this existing system running in the background to make sure that there's no headaches. But originally we built the integration for this one customer, and now it's a case of, okay, what other Peoplevox sellers could benefit from this? And really I think it's just a sign of the times. The marketplace space has changed. And I think a lot of the established or more established marketplace specialized tools were originally built for Amazon or for eBay. And that meant that what it means is, from a technical perspective, every time someone like B&Q decides, hey, we're going to become a marketplace, let's open the doors to third-party sellers, they now need to reinvent the wheel almost from the ground up to add that whole new marketplace, which is why it can sometimes take years for some technologies to add, for example, Allegro or Otto or whatever the next marketplace is. We were built specifically for multiple marketplaces. And that's our USP, because we're only 3 years old as a company. Like eCommeleon's only been on the market since just before COVID hit. And, it's been a uphill battle getting a technology company off the ground in the current economic climate, as I'm sure you can imagine. But our biggest strength when we talk to sellers is the fact that we're able to integrate new marketplaces really quickly, like sometimes in a couple of hours. Like the team are rockets at adding new marketplaces. And I think it's that space, that being able to add new channels, whether it's 2 hours or 2 months, it's still not 4 years. Our goal really is to just add as many marketplaces as possible to achieve what I said before, as to get into a situation where our sellers have that opportunity to add so many new marketplaces that Amazon becomes less than 50% of the total turnover.
Yeah. As and when they appear, when opportunities arise for these sellers and brands, and as the landscape seems to change from pure direct to consumer to this all commerce omni-channel approach.
That's exactly it. I spoke to someone last week who does, it's a D2C first brand, but they do a huge chunk of their revenue on B2B marketplaces. And it's just these new opportunities that are out there that a seller needs to be able to take advantage of without waiting 6 months for the tech to catch up, or without waiting for there to be enough other interested customers for the company to decide to make the integration. And as I said, that's been kind of our biggest strength until now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you have it. Jesse, thanks so much. If our avid viewers are interested to learn a little bit more, where can they go? What can they check out as a next step?
So I'm hoping you'll put a link to eCommeleon in the comments, because as much as I love the name, it turns out it's hard for people to pronounce or spell. It's the chameleon for e-commerce, so eCommeleon. But hopefully there's a link in the description. I'd also welcome people to check out my podcast on the topic of marketplaces beyond Amazon. It's called Marketplace Jungle. The goal of the podcast really is to explore what other channels are there, what steps are necessary to kind of succeed there. I'm talking with everyone from ex-Amazon employees to global directors of e-commerce at Stanley Black & Decker, for example, and other pretty large companies, right the way through to small D2C companies that are doing marketplaces just very well, and or some cases not at all. And yeah, I'm trying to cover a base of as many different conversations as possible with people that are selling on marketplaces that aren't Amazon, to figure out what works, what doesn't, what opportunities are there. And yeah, I'm also talking to the marketplaces directly and doing like a meet the marketplace format to figure out things like, what's the return rate like here? What does it cost me to sell here? How can I market my products? Which competitors are there? And yeah, if anyone wants to have a listen in before they get enrolled into a sales process with yours truly, that's a good place to go next. Otherwise, hit me up on LinkedIn or get in touch through the website.
Perfect. Well, Jesse, great to chat. Thanks very much.
Likewise, thank you.